Hey, this is Ralph, and in this video I want to go over using hexadecimal color codes. And I've used these in a lot of web pages before, but I haven't actually really gone into too much detail on them. And they're pretty simple, so let's go ahead and take care of that. I've got a blank web page here set up, and I need to put in some markup. I'm going to go ahead and pause my recorder while I add some basic HTML5 markup. There we go. So we have got ourselves a doc type definition, HTML tag, head section with meta character encoding, title. I'm going to do some internal or embedded styles here, and in the body of my page I simply have a headline 1, and I've got it saved over to my desktop. And if I run this in Firefox, there we go, that's our web page. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of color, and I'm going to go ahead and start off just with the body of the page. And I will do a background color, and then the big unknown. There's a few dozen colors you can use, maybe 50 or more, where you can just type in the name of a color. For instance, I could type in the color red, and I'll certainly get a red background. I could type in blue, and certainly get a blue background. There's also some other colors. For instance, I could type in like sky blue. There we go. You get a lighter shade of blue and things like that. But it's tough. You don't always want to rely on a color name unless it's something very, very standard. And even when you type in something like blue, why does it give me that certain blue? I think you can also type in something like DK red. And oh, that did not work. Does dark red work? Yeah, dark red kind of works. So, but still, that's a little bit risky. And there are 16.7 million colors you can choose from. Each of them has their own unique code. So if you get to learn the codes, then it's much easier to work with, and you'll have a better idea of what you're getting. For instance, dark red, there's a number of codes that represent dark red, but 660000 is a dark red. There we go. So there's a hex code for dark red, and there's millions more. So really, I just want you to focus on some of these codes. And hexadecimal codes work on a scale of 0 through 9, and then A through F. So if I were to write them right down here, and let's see, I'll put these in a headline 2. There we go. So these are our hex code characters, and let me change this out to ABC. I'll talk to you about that in just a second. So here are my hex codes, 0 through F. It's a 16-base system for counting. And on the far left, on the 0 end of the scale, we have dark, and on the right side of the scale, we have bright. So you got to remember that it's dark and bright, not dark and light. Dark and bright. So I can put in those various characters. 00, 00, 00. That's the hex code for black. So if I save that, I have a black background color. Now the first 2 characters represent the portion of red, the second 2 represent the portion of green, and the last 2 represent the portion of blue. Red, green, and blue. And sometimes you'll hear people call these RGB codes. So red, green, and blue are the primary colors that your computer uses to generate all colors. It's a little bit different than, of course, the red, yellow, and blue primary colors that you learned in primary school. So red, green, and blue are the primary colors here. So if I were to put in 00, 00, FF, what color would I get? Well, you know that that's red, the middle part is green, and the last part is blue, so it must be blue. Because there is no red and there is no green, there is only blue. So is it dark blue or bright blue? Well, since it's F, it's at the far end of the bright end of the scale, we should expect this to be the hex code for bright blue. And if I save this back to my browser and refresh, sure enough, that is a bright blue. What if I want a darker blue? Well, then I start to back down the scale, and I could do something like AA or AB. Now we're getting a little bit darker. There we go, it's a darker blue. I could go down into the number range. like 6.6 or 5.6 or 6.7. What about 57 or 47 there? That should be a pretty dark blue. There you go. It's a very dark blue. It's starting to get almost black. And sure enough, if I were to bring it down even more to like 23 or something, it's a super dark blue. Maybe it might even look black on your screen in the recording, but it's actually a super dark blue. So that's how you can kind of mix that. Now, what if I were to say, all right, what if I mixed in equal portions of red and blue? What color would I get? I'm going to get purple. And now I've got a super dark purple. If I want to brighten this purple up, I'll do equal portions of red and blue, but brighter on the scale. There we go. Now the purple's getting a little bit brighter. So that's the basics of hex codes right there, just by mixing in red, green, and blue. Now there's a set of colors, out of the 16.7 million, there's a set of colors that are called the browser safe color palette. And there's about 216 browser safe colors. And I started making web pages in the late 90s, and it was a little bit more important that you knew about the browser safe color set, because then you were dealing with people that might have only had 256 color possibilities on their monitors and things like that. But it's rare that you have to be worried about the browser safe color sets. I mean, even everybody's smartphone can handle all those other colors. My students will see me often use browser safe colors, and it's mostly just out of habit. And I'm just now, 15 years later, getting out of that habit. But basically, if you were to limit yourself to only using 0, 3, 6, 9, C, and F, okay? So if you limited yourself to only those values, 0, 3, 6, 9, C, and F, and then you always doubled up for each color. What I mean by that is 6, 6, oh, I'm sorry, that's not a 6, 6, 6, 3, 3, FF. This is a browser safe color for kind of a bluish with a little bit of reddish tint to it. So that is a browser safe color because it uses only 0, 3, 6, 9, C, or F, and it's doubled up for each of the three colors. Now, if I were to do something like 3, 6, this is not a browser safe color because I'm not doubled up for the red. Okay, so 3, 3, 3, 3, FF is a browser safe color. Okay, so there's a limited range of browser safe colors, which means basically the color looks the same in all the browsers and various platforms. Not a big concern. If you need a unique color, you want a unique color, knock yourself out and go for it. Now, if you do stick with colors that are doubled up, you can use what I often use as a shorthand. For instance, 3333FF can be written as 33F. That means 33 for red, 33 for green, FF for blue. And if I save this, you won't see a change in the color. Same exact color, but it's a shorthand. So I often type in these letters. So one of the latest colors that I'm using a lot is ABC, which is AA, BB, CC. And if I save that, it comes out to this kind of grayish blue color, which I kind of like. All right. Another one I use a lot is CCF, which is CC, CCFF, and it's a very light shade of yellow. And no, it's not. FFC is the light shade of yellow that I was going for. So that's a little bit about hex codes. Now I want to show you a couple other things too, though. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and create a little div on here. And let's give this div some characteristics. There you go, hex code 000. What's that color? It is black. It's a shorthand for black. So now I've got this div with this black border on it. I want to change its background color. And to do that, I'm going to do a slightly different technique. So let me jump back over to my code here. And of course, I'm going to put in background color. If I can spell the word color. Now, the way most people put in colors is by using a hex code, what I just showed you before, whether it's the 6-character hex or the shorthand 3-character hex. That's the way to do it most of the time. However, if you're one of those graphic arts kind of people, you might be more familiar with RGB codes, or really RGB values. And in CSS, you can type in RGB, and then in parentheses, you can put in things like 100%, 100%, 100%. Okay, this would be the RGB value for white because it's full level red, full level green, full level blue. It's the same as FF, FF, FF. It's the full end of the scale, and this would be the value for white. So if I refresh this, now I've got a white block there. Similarly, you could also put in 0%, 0%, 0%, and I could start to do things like, all right, what if I did a 80% red, 80% blue, and 0% green? That should be purple, okay? And on the medium bright end of the scale, so there's a brightish purple. Okay, it's a little bit weird to work with colors like that, so most people don't do it. Let me show you another way they can do this. Instead of putting in the percentages, you can put in basically decimal values. And I don't mean like something point something else, but I mean put in, if you were to take a binary code and convert it to decimal, or in this case hexadecimal code and convert it to decimal, you could put in something like 255, comma 255, comma 250, let's do a 0. Okay, so if you're doing numeric values this way, it's 0 through 255. Okay, 0 would be black, 255 would be, I'm sorry, 0 would be like the 0, 255 would be the F end of the scale. So this would be FF, FF, 0, 0, which ultimately will get us the shade of yellow, bright yellow. Okay, so now we have a bright yellow block there. Once again, not very common, but if you're a Photoshop person, use other graphic design software, you'll notice that those programs do give you these pieces of information. Now, one really cool thing I wanted to show you is there's a new CSS3 background color, or color naming syntax here, and you can put in RGBA. So when you're using RGBA, there's a fourth parameter. You got your red, you got your green, you got your blue. Now you can also put in something like 0.5. Check this out. I'm going to save that, go to my browser, watch this yellow block, refresh, and what you're seeing right now is that this block has been converted into semi-transparent. Maybe you don't believe me on that, so let's do a little fix here. I'm going to do a position relative top about 110. There we go. So now you can see I actually have a semi-transparent block, and you can start to see through it. Okay, now if I went back, or I could actually take this and put a 1 in there. Now it's solid again. So now you can see, okay, so that's the solid color, and I can start to dial back. It goes from 0 to 1. So if I did 0, it's going to be fully transparent. Not that exciting at all. Okay, so I might do something in between, 0.3. And there we go, very, very light color. And I could start to play around with these numbers. So I could certainly do shades of blue. RGB, so I can do 0, 0, 255, save that. There we go, so now we have a semi-transparent blue color. Well, I want you to have fun with this stuff, you know. Go out there, find your color codes. There's lots of tools to help you out. And if you're unsure of what colors to go for, just hop over to Google and type in Hex Codes, and you're going to find all kinds of great pages that help you out. So hex color codes, there's a whole bunch of hex color codes in here, and they give you a name for the color, but more importantly, they give you the hexadecimal code for that color, and you can do that. Another great tools that web developers are going to like to use are color scheme choosers, and basically just type in, go to Google and type in color scheme generator or something like that. And this is a really good one here, top one. And I do have JavaScript, I just have a script disabler. And let me go back to that. Try again, and oh, some other problem. Let me just jump over to this one. There we go. So basically now I can start to choose different color schemes, and there's all kinds of different palettes you can pick, and you'll get all the hex codes that you want for your particular color scheme. So I can just Yeah, just kind of experiment and try something different. So have fun with that. And basically, it's just knowing those hex codes, remembering the three parts: red, green, and blue, and then different combinations using the hex scale, 0 through 9, A through F, 0 being dark, F being bright. Have fun.